Welcome to the Humans of Hospitality podcast with me, Mark Cribb, and this is the week where rumours are circulating that beer gardens may even be able to open on the 22nd of June, but in reality, most of us in the industry still don't have official confirmation that we can even open on the 4th of July, albeit that is what most people seem to currently be aiming for. But the majority of operators with multiple venues that I speak with are certainly planning on only opening a few sites to see how things go, both operationally and if there is actually any kind of customer demand. In other news, the rent crisis is only a few weeks away, and with £1.4 billion worth of rent being owed for the next quarter, it feels like we are hurtling towards things getting much harder rather than easier for hospitality. And as many have predicted, reopening is in fact going to be much harder and much more complex than closing. But there is no sucking the positivity out of today's guest. Robert Walton, MBE, seeps hospitality from his veins and is an exceptionally glass half full and upbeat kind of human being. Robert has an MBE, he's a restaurateur, a patron of Hospitality Action, president of the Restaurant Association, founder of the 8th Degree Global, and has even been covered in the FT as a power dresser with his very dapper suit collection. He's also got a very active Instagram account where he also interviews a number of other great humans of hospitality. Now, in this episode, we have a fantastic chat about his past experiences in hospitality, which have been many and varied. Robert gushes about London's place as the hospitality and tourism world champion, and his enthusiasm is infectious. We chat all about the recently launched Young Chef, Young Waiter competition, and Robert really has done an incredible job of revitalising this event. Some of the best known industry greats have won this award in the past, but it needed a revamp to stay relevant. And Robert and the Restaurant Association and UK Hospitality have really upped the stakes to the point where you can win a Mercedes Benz and a night in a top London hotel with a much more glitzy awards ceremony and competition finals. We also touch on all things pandemic and the wider implications of hospitality. And remember, please do scroll down on your phone right now and click on the 5 stars to help me out, or even better, leave a written review on Apple Podcasts or your player of choice. And as always, do pop over to the Patreon page to make a donation so that I can invest the time and energy into chatting to more inspirational humans of hospitality who make the world of food and drink such a great place to hang out. I very much hope you enjoy our chat. Robert Walton, MBE, President of the Restaurant Association. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Hugely appreciated. Can I just ask where in the world you are, please, Robert? Are you at home? Or?
Well, firstly, thank you. Thanks for having me on. Yes, I'm at home, and I have been for, what are we in now? I think we're in 13th week, I think. So apart from actually managing to get out and play 2 games of golf, that has pretty much been it, actually. And that was only in the last 2 weeks. So I'm at home, and I am sort of between Pangbourne and Goring, which is in Berkshire. So it's nice. I have a garden. I'm lucky. I think the have and have nots have been who's got a garden and who hasn't got a garden, actually. So
absolutely.
Very happy with, not very happy, but I'm very happy in where I am under the present circumstances.
Yeah, grateful at least. And do you normally have an office somewhere? Do you normally work in the city, or are you pretty much based from home anyway?
Well, we did. I had an office in Dover Street in Mayfair for a year. We tried that, and I'm a member of the Arts Club and a member of many clubs in London. And nobody ever wanted to meet in the office. They only ever wanted to meet in the Arts Club or in Hay Hill Club or 67 Pound Mile or somewhere like that. So I thought to myself, actually, what's the point? Sorry, I just realized I've got some music running here. Let's turn that off. I suddenly, so I was never in the office, and I thought, this is crazy. So, and the beauty of technology, of course, is you can work from anywhere. And so we suddenly started using, obviously, the clubs that I was a member of or ambassadors of. And then I thought, well, we can, so that's how it all worked. And then, of course, now we've been locked in at home. Well, it's definitely going to change people's attitude on how they go about going forward, I'm sure, because, we've done a lot at home, and I quite enjoy it. And I think a lot of other people. I mean, I have a garden. I've got a nice view. So on that basis, it's quite a nice experience to be at home all this time, and without jumping on a train at 7 a.m, and having that whole period of time. So the answer, it's a long-winded answer, is that the office is really based at home now.
Yeah, so pretty transient. But I think you're right. I think 91% of people or something are saying that they don't want to go back to life exactly as it was before. So I think, if you've had a period of time in your garden, we have been somewhat spoilt by the incredible weather during this process, which we'll come back to. But so your background, I just want to touch on this, and this is, we could probably spend 2 hours on this. So MBE, restaurateur, trustee of the Hospitality Action, president of the Restaurant Association, founder of Ninth Degree Global, FT power dresser, exceptional beard, Instagram interviewer. My God, you're one of the busiest humans I've ever not quite met, but have over the internet. Is that fair? You seem to be an incredibly busy man.
When you start going on that one, there's a few more things as well that you've missed, but we won't go into those. So I'm a restaurant. I'm a chef. I'm a restaurateur. Started many years ago in London. Opened my first restaurant when I was 24. Opened my second restaurant when I was 27. Bought my first hotel when I was 33. Still have a part of that now, many years later. Joined the Restaurant Association in 1992. Became the chairman in 2007. Got my MBE in 2008. Became the president in 2009. I'm the 11 years of president, so the longest ever president of the Restaurant Association. I'm passionate about hospitality, full stop. I'm, as you say, was a trustee of Hospitality Action, patron of Hospitality Action, patron of Springboard. I just, I'm in it. Hook, line, and sinker. I love I love everything that hospitality has given me, and I love everything that I'm going to get out of it. And I can't seem to stop going forward in whatever opportunity it gives me. And so, in this weird time we're in, and you just touched on it, what am I going to do? Well, I've learned more about social media in the last 3 weeks, and I've learned about social media in the last 3 years. And I've really enjoyed, I've been doing some cooking online. Now, not just some now, I've now done 46 videos, one every day. And then the latest thing that we did were these Insta Lives, which is, a newish type of interviewing, if you like, or meeting people online. And I've really enjoyed speaking to the chefs. And I was speaking to Theo Randall and Simon King and Tom Aikens and Adam Handling last week. And the great thing about it, Mark, is that I've had time to speak to them. If I was to go to Tom Aikens' restaurant, his new one in Muse, which I did when he first opened, it's an amazing experience. But I don't get time to talk to him about how he started, where he trained. I mean, he's one of the youngest 2 Michelin star chefs. So it's sort of one fuels the fire of something else. I get just as excited now. I'm going to speak to Jason Atherton tomorrow. We'll have 45 minutes or so. We'll be talking about all kinds of things, exactly that we're going to be talking about today, about where we are, the circumstances, how he got all of his restaurants together, et cetera, young chef, young waiter, which we've launched, all of these things. And I'll spend more time talking to Jason tomorrow about that than I will have done in probably, in all the times, not all the times I've met him, because I've met him many times, but just having a proper conversation. And I suppose then this has given us that opportunity to do these things. And I'm a one that will always grab the opportunity and twist it and turn it and make the best of it, And I think we're brilliant in the hospitality sector to do that.
I think you're right. I think you epitomise hospitality. This is called the humans of hospitality, and you are clearly that because you've been doing it your whole life. And actually, I just in researching this morning, I watched a couple of your Insta interviews, and you come across brilliantly. You've got a really warm character. I think I saw you cooking a toad in the hole and something about a Scotch egg. So yeah, brilliant. I thoroughly recommend that people go and have a look. And it's one of the reasons why I also love this sector. Is I guess it's full of some beautiful human beings, which we're going to come on to when we talk about the sort of next generation of human beings with the young chef, young waiter. But for people who don't know, can you just explain a little bit that the Restaurant Association, been around for a very long time, now merged, has it, with UK hospitality in some form? Can you just explain a little bit about what it is and what it does and why you've been involved? And I suppose how it's changed in the last 28 years.
Sure. Well, it's changed. So I hosted in 2018 the 50th anniversary of the Restaurant Association. And we then have carried on. It's now called the Restaurant Association Gala Dinner. So it's 52 years old, of course, excuse me. And the Restaurant Association was created by a wonderful man, Roy Ackerman, as you would know him, and some real sort of greats of the past. Manny Franks and Roy Ackerman and Robert Carrier and all these names of many years ago who decided they wanted to create a little association, a group of people, and they wanted to just get together. And then it was about how can we assist? What can we do? How can we assist the industry? What can we do to give back? And one of those, so that then went on through, and I'll come to Young Chef, Young Waiter in a minute, because Young Chef, Young Waiter, we'll come on to that as a separate one, but Young Chef, Young Waiter was one of the initiatives, hence Young Chef, Young Waiter is now 41 years old. And it was one of the initiatives that Roy started back in those days with Prue Leith, by the way, who was on. Was one of the chairmen. I mean, many, many, many amazing people have been through the Restaurant Association. And so it then, we were completely separate for that period. And then I can't remember the exact date. Let's just pick around about late 90s, 2000. We merged with the BHA. You remember the BHA, the British Hospitality Association. And then the British Hospitality, so then the Restaurant Association, we under the umbrella of Bob Cotton and the BHA. And then the BHA then merged with the ALMR, yep, and BHA to form UK Hospitality. So the Restaurant Association is under now the umbrella of UK Hospitality. And I sort of kept the flag flying, if you like, for the Restaurant Association, along with David Lowy, of course, who's the chairman. David Lowy, part of D&D, one of the owners of D&D. And so it's just a very good voice for restaurants. And if you like, the restaurants are celebrity brand, aren't they? I mean, the hospitality sector, the hospitality industry, it's so enormous. And I work very, very closely with Michelin. I'm a partner, as in the nth degree, you mentioned that one as well, as a partner of Michelin, and we're one of the only partners of Michelin. I run an event called the Michelin Revelation, which is the revealing of the new Michelin stars, which of course are all restaurants. So the restaurant sector, if you like, is the sexy part, with all these amazing, amazing talent and these incredible chefs that we have. But obviously they're just the top tiny bit of it. But they're a good voice to get out there. And when we host the Restaurant Association Gala, we have about 25 to 30 of these great chefs there, which sort of give it a bit of the, get all the press there and everything else. But ultimately, they're just a bit of icing on the cake. The real hard work is done by all of us. Not that they don't do hard work, but all of us, in every form. And we talk about UK hospitality, they represent, or we represent, as I put that hat on, every form, from holiday camps to motorway service stations and all in between, So it's really a mass organization. I've been very pleased and proud of the work Kate Nichols has been doing, I have to say. She has been, we're on a call with her today. She has been really very, I've seen her on TV, I've seen her on interviews, I've seen her on the radio. heard on the radio, and I think she's doing a great job.
Yeah, I had Kate on the podcast a few weeks ago, actually, and she has an incredible energy and really is achieving some stuff. And do you think that as a result of the pandemic, which we're going to come into, obviously we're in the midst of sort of COVID lockdown, but do you think that's raised the profile in many ways of hospitality with government? Because it feels like Kate and UK Hospitality have sort of been in there, chatting about the details of furloughing and the various support for what is such a big sector and that has been really impacted. So do you think it's a bit of a change maybe with government, or has it always been the case?
I think that it certainly, the government aren't stupid that hospitality is the third biggest employer in the country and brings in however many billions into the HMRC. So, but I think they recognise now the significance of it in how many employees we have. I mean, look, the significance of the NHS now has been recognised, if you like, the significance of lots of different sectors of the country have been recognised in ways that they weren't before. But I think she's doing a really good job in making sure our voice is heard. And I'm very pleased, and we will listen to the latest update today. And she's really on point with it. She has all of the statistics at her fingertips. Very, very, very pleased with the way she's dealing with it. And she's trying to deal with it. We're coming from a restaurant sector, our restaurant bit. She's got to deal with the same from hotels, of course, which you're in, or pubs, or we're all basically under the same. On July the 4th, when we're allowed to open doors, who's going to open, how they're going to open. But I think, you were talking about, you have a great big terrace. Well, you have a great big terrace, and so you'll be able to work out plans of how that's going to work. And I was speaking on one of my Insta Lives with Tom Aitkins, who has a beautiful, tiny restaurant in the middle of Belgravia. Now, how on earth there's no comparison to your opening and his opening. And then you've got Claude Bossy, who I had a chat to the other day on another It's Alive, and he's got Bebendum, which is a very big restaurant for the number of covers he's got. So how will he do it? And how will we work on, we sort of jumped onto COVID at the moment, but how will we open restaurants? I was talking to somebody the other day, we were talking about, you can sit back to back. You haven't got to be 1 meter or even 2 meters at the moment, as far as I know. Now so if that's the case, that changes a lot. But suppose when somebody turns around, I don't know, very, very.
It's going to be complicated. I mean, you've been in hospitality clearly for a lifetime, so you've gone through recessions, you've gone through crashes in the stock market, terrorist attacks. What's your thoughts on the scale of what we're going through now? Presumably, unprecedented, I suppose, with regards to the impact, I suppose, specifically on hospitality. Sort of looks like it got hit first and it's going to come out last, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we're not in the airlines, I suppose. That could be worse, couldn't it?
Or theatres as well. They've got big challenges. Yeah.
Or, I'm in events. I run 5 events, which are, the Mission Revelation, for instance, the Tatler Restaurant Awards, the gala. Now, only one really has been affected because there was one that was going to be in September, which is the International Restaurateurs Dinner, which I run and host. So on that basis, I'm feeling okay because everything is postponed. My hotel, for instance, is, we've got we had lots of wedding books booked. And so I would probably say 90% more have said, let's just postpone it. Let's just postpone it until we can do it, which is great. I have flights booked to go to the US at the moment. I said, well, let's just hold them. I'm happy to have a voucher or something at the moment because I will use them. But yeah, it's going to be a very difficult time for us all as we slowly come out of this. Sorry, let's just go back to the question.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm going to lead on from that. So, hospitality in general, a lot of the people that I've been speaking to in the last 12 months have said that, 2019 was a really tough year. We seem to be sort of being squeezed by increased cost, increased margins. We obviously had a lot of uncertainty with Brexit, multiple elections. So it felt like a tough time anyway. Do you think that's valid? And do you think that was more the sort of the high street side of the industry? And were the sort of the hotels and the more sort of premium places okay? Or do you think that the timing of this, I don't know, it's just interesting with that backdrop around the challenges of the last sort of 24 months.
Well, one of the questions you asked, was it any different? I mean, I bought my hotel in 1990. And I also started my first restaurant in 1980. So I've been through a whole load of different ups and downs. I suppose the only thing, if you like, is there a comforting factor of today? And when I say that, is there a comforting factor of today? There's probably no comfort. But the reason I say that is because I bought my hotel in 2008 when we had the financial crash. The very first company that pulled out of an event for me was Royal Bank of Scotland for £52,000. I'll never forget it. And I thought, God, that's a bit of a dent, And of course, it was a banking crisis that created the crisis. It wasn't my fault of running my hotel. And I ran my hotel very, very well. And we had loads of events and it was amazing. But the banking crisis created my crisis. And I just felt then that obviously I didn't get government help. I didn't get, my staff weren't furloughed. I didn't get anything of that nature. You were on your own. And anyone who's listening to this will remember that then you were on your own and you had to just deal with it. And we had to just deal with it. We had to cut back staff. We had to do whatever we had to do. So when I say the word comforting, I'm not saying, there are a number of people in the same position as me in those days as well. But the comforting aspect of it is when I speak to my wife's family who are in Australia, and I speak to my friends who have restaurants in LA and all in between, we're all in the same boat. And every venue and every restaurant around the world is in the same position. It's so bizarre. And none of us are open, really. If you speak to, Spain or Greece, that everything's sort of opening, but it isn't. So is it? Yes, it's worse, isn't it? Of course it is. It's worse than anything I think we've ever seen. And I feel really, you were talking, you've got restaurants and a hotel. It's a super tough one. I think the government, I'm not going to say the government, if anyway, been perfect, but I think on the financial side, they've been pretty good. I think that the extension to furlough and what they're going to do and where they've sort of moved it at the moment in keeping a higher percentage than we thought they were going to keep is really positive. I think these loans seem to be getting through now to venues. I think that's quite good. But it is a tough time, isn't it, Mark?
It is, yeah. It really is, yeah. Do you think that, this is going to be, is it just a hibernation and a pause in your mind where we are going to come out the other side of this and return to normal? Or do you see this as a bigger change, I suppose? The VC is going to get their fingers burnt and leave hospitality for a little while. Are a number of the sectors going to go under? Do you think the independents will survive, or is it going to be the big players that survive? Have you got any thoughts on what hospitality might look different, afterwards?
Wow. They're really good questions, aren't they? If I knew all those answers, wow. They are really good questions.
Well, you strike me as the sort of person that might have been pondering them anyway, I suppose, rather than putting on the two spot too much.
Every question you've just asked, I've asked myself,
That's a bit of luck.
I think, look, wouldn't it be lovely if we would just go straight? It was obviously not going to go straight back as we were. Is there going to be a vaccine? Is there going to be an antibody test? When are we going to get these things in? How are we going to travel? The thing is, right now, I said earlier on, I'm going to speak to Kate, and there's going to be some amazing restaurateurs and companies on that Zoom call. And Kate will give us the update. And literally week by week, there is an update. And I believe we're due for the definitive hospitality guide to come out in the next 2 or 3 weeks of how restaurants are supposed to open. Mostly it will be risk assessment based, as we know. It's going to be making sure your staff are safe. And if your staff are safe, one will assume your customers will be safe. Will the VCs, will they buy in? Well, I suppose if you were being very honest, they might look at opportunities, might they? Because there's going to be opportunities out there, unfortunately, because not everyone's going to make it through. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a really difficult one because I am the last person to be negative about anything, and I want everything to be rosy in the garden. But of course, it's not going to be, And yes, there will be opportunities. Will they still invest? I can't see why wouldn't they. We have created. You were telling me about one of your locations is in Bournemouth. The UK. London has been recognised as the hospitality, food and service capital of the world. We've got that. We're number one. Now, that is fantastic. Why is it number one? Tourists come here. They not only want to come and see the royal family, want to go see everything else in museums. They want to go to our amazing restaurants and dine in our fantastic establishments. Right. They also want to go around the country. And I was speaking to Tom Aitkins about this last week. There really isn't. You don't think now of going to an establishment where you have a bad meal. You just don't think of it. You might not have the best service, and that's the key, but you probably don't think these days, God, I went there, the food was terrible. It just sort of doesn't roll off the tongue anymore because everyone thinks about food because we've all become food lovers and foodies. So will the independents do better? Will the groups do better? It's going to take a bit of time to get everyone's confidence back. I saw somebody sent me something today from Germany, that the restaurants, was it Germany? I think I saw a graph. The restaurants are almost back to where they were. Now, it was a really interesting graph of the real you go down to the bottom and then you bounce back. Now, I literally haven't got any more information on it. I just saw it this morning.
Yeah, no, I did see that. Actually, I think there's a bit of debate around that because
or something.
Yeah, it was, and I think the issue is it was regard to restaurant bookings in Germany. So it was some data. I don't know if it was from Res Diary or Open Table, but it was from one of those guys. But I think the counterpoint that was being made is because you now have to book to go to a restaurant. So basically, there are no walk-ins. So actually, although bookings have gone back to previous levels, because there's no walk-ins, that doesn't necessarily mean that restaurants levels are back. So I think everybody got a little bit excited when they first saw it, and then somebody pointed that out, and we went, damn, it was not quite necessarily the full picture. But don't worry, go on.
Quite like the idea of bookings. I mean, I suppose I'm thinking about where you said in your location. Your location, I would imagine, being where you are and situated where you are, would be lots of walk-ins. I would imagine.
It is, yes, and gosh, if we could convert people to book rather than just walk in, it would be incredible. I don't think people appreciate, and I guess where we've had an oversupply in the market for the last few years, it's been too easy to just rock up on the night, and I guess we've got used to booking very late, even with hotels, through the likes of all the OTAs that mean that you can always find somewhere to stay. Is that it makes it much more challenging as an operator from a food waste perspective, I guess, because we don't know what to cook on the night, but from a staffing perspective, it's always sod's law that particularly down in coastal towns, because it will be pouring with rain at 3:00, so you'll send all your team home and prepare for a quiet evening, and the sun will come out 2 hours later and you'll get absolutely smashed, and you think, my goodness, if we could just even this out. So one of the things I'm excited about is actually getting more bookings.
And I suppose if you were a coastal, you can have a great big sign up, or you'd have it on the website that to come to this venue you have to book. I mean, people can book sitting on the beach, I mean, they can just pick up the phone and book a table, but at least you would know what's going on, I suppose.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And in fact, we're just about to launch this week. We're going to open what is normally a sit-down restaurant, sort of 300 cover restaurant on the beach, but we're just turning it into a takeaway. And we've built a little app so you can be outside, so you can sit on the beach and you can order your food, and then we'll text you when it's ready, and you walk up to a collection point outside, and it's completely contactless, kind of purchase process, payment process. The only point you're sort of near a human is when you collect. So that opportunity to be creative and come up with some different solutions, I think is great. And I think it's what we're good at as a sector. We're full of really interesting human beings, which is probably a nice segue to talk about something that I know you're very passionate about is employment and employment opportunities, and particularly, sort of younger side. So under 26, young chef, young waiter competition. Can you just tell me a little bit about what that is and why you're involved?
So this is a passion of mine. We talk about passion, and I don't really, apart from doing some cooking online now, which I've loved, and apart from, being a voice in hospitality and being connected to it in every part of my body, I don't actually, sit and have restaurants to sort of deal with. But I'm so passionate about our industry that looking after the future talent is vital and so important to me. So what we do is, and what I did last year, so Young Chef, Young Waiter has been going since 1979. I was the chairman. Funnily enough, I spoke to Adam Handling last week, and he was actually a finalist in 2011. And my PR company flashed it up that I'd given him the award, as a finalist. I hadn't seen him since then. So it's really marvelous to see that sort of where he's gone from there to where he is today. And, past winners of Young Chef, Young Waiter are Mark Sargent, Nathan Outlaw, Marcus Wary, amazing names. Simon King, Simon Girling, some great, people that have gone on to run big establishments. And the winner of last year, Rich Henderson, is now with Tom Aitkins, and Alessandro, I can't pronounce his surname, actually, but he knows who he is.
Yeah, Calzavaca, I think.
There you
something
go.
Like that.
And, well, I can't pronounce it, but I haven't got it in front of me.
I've cheated. I have got it in front of me.
And he's now at the Dorchester. So, already their careers have taken it, and Rich has been very proactive with the NHS and posting online. So I'm very happy that he has taken the opportunity and run with it. So the annoying thing about Young Chef, Young Waiter is that through the BHA and then UKH, they didn't have the staffing and the time to run it. So I picked it up and basically took over the brand, and we now run the brand as our own brand. And we redesigned it under the Nth Degree, which is my other company, which sort of is the facilitator to everything. And we restyled it, rebranded it, and made it a much younger, dynamic, more energetic brand. And now it looks good. Now it looks cool. Now it's up to date. And the secret of last year was I decided that this competition should be totally online until the very final. And the reason I did that was not because I was expecting a pandemic to come in or anything else. It was purely that the chefs had no time. There were too many competitions, and you would have known this. You know the industry well. There are too many competitions which the chefs have to be here, have to be there. You have to go and talk. It's great, and you do your thing, and you give back and all that stuff. But actually, the chefs I knew, and the waiters and everyone involved in judging were saying, God, I've got to do the such and such competition, but really I don't have time. So I wanted to come up with a route that all the applications, bearing in mind all of the young chefs and waiters that apply are 26 and under, and they're young professionals. So anyone can, whilst we're talking that now, anyone of 26 and under who is a young professional in the hospitality sector in this country can apply wherever you come from on youngchefyoungwaiter.com. You'll go on the website and you'll see the entry forms and you can apply. And I just wanted to make sure that anyone could come into this. But more than anything, my judges can judge. The applications are online. The judging is online. So nobody has to do anything until the last 2 days in November. Now, that makes it easy for my judges. That's why I've got such a vast array of amazing judges that are supporting young talent in this country. So
can I just ask, Robert, is that a video or is that a written application? How does that work?
It's a combination of both. It's a small written application and then there's a video. There's a list of exercises for the chefs and for the waiters. And they just send in a phone video, and then those videos go to the different judges. and those judges will have no idea where those people come from. So if you come from, Sodexo's contract, or any contract caterer, or any pub, or any route of professional catering, and you want to enter, you can enter, and the judges will have no idea where you come from. So, if you're from the Fat Duck or a 3 Michelin star restaurant, or if you're from the little pub in the Outer Hebrides, you can apply, and those judges will not know where you've come from. And the same with the waiters, exactly. So it's really easy. You apply online, you do a small video, and then there's a few questions and a couple of little exercises that you have to show.
Yeah, and obviously they can't taste the food. So, what is there a criteria they're looking for? I'm thinking sort of provenance of dishes or presentation. Is it a published sort of criteria that they're being judged against?
Yeah, well, you'll see in the application, it will go through the judging process and what the judges are looking for. But a lot of it's about personality, a lot of it is about skill, and they'll be able to tell a lot from who they are. But we had a lot of applications last year. This is the biggest competition in the country, by the way, for young chefs and waiters by miles. And we had a lot of applications last year. This year, we're expecting hundreds because this is the perfect competition at the perfect time. And by default, I created it to be totally online until the very end. It's absolutely perfect for right now. So I'm so excited that we've launched this. We literally launched it 2 weeks ago. The application forms I've just had a look at, which will go out, and my team will personally be writing to many, many restaurants with the application forms, because a lot of this stuff can get lost in all of the media, So I like one of our media partners is Tatler magazine. The caterer put it out, Craft Guild of Chefs have put it out. The UKH will put it out, but also we then do our own. Mark, that you can send. You can put on newsletters, 100 times, and where I didn't see it. Well, you didn't send it to me. So we actually then write to the chefs and the restaurants, and we've got a lot of them. And we tell people, look, this is the application form, so there's no excuse not to get your young team to apply. And I'm pushing it all the time. So I think we're going to be inundated. I'm really excited. And by the way, the winners of Young Chef, Young Waiter can win a Mercedes each for a year.
That's exactly what I was just about to mention, Robert. Is that one of the reasons it's going to be popular? Is I had a little look on the website. I was like, my goodness, you don't see many. Normally, you get a certificate, signed by somebody, or maybe if you're really lucky, a trophy. But not many chef competitions do you win a car that's probably better than the person who owns the restaurant that's sending you. So that's got to be a pretty big incentive, I suppose, isn't it?
Well, that gives you the whole. So when we talked about the Nth Degree is a facilitating business that I run, which I own, which is the brand that brings. And when I thought about Young Chef, Young Waiter, and I thought about how it was run in the past, any brand could be involved in Young Chef, Young Waiter, a clothing brand, obviously anything within hospitality, but a watch brand, a technology brand, a car brand, any brand can be involved. These are young people on social media right now. I have just seen the power of social media myself, gaining 2,000 followers in a month. I mean, my goodness me, it's more than my wife got. My wife's, very good at it. And she's quite jealous of my increase in my social media presence. But so
I think it's your beard, Robert. I think you're bang in vogue at the moment. You've got such a beautifully coiffed beard that you're just like a perfect Instagram shot. That's what it is.
Well, I'm very happy to carry on with these sort of conversations, Mark. It's very kind
and the suits.
And suits and everything. But, so any brand can be involved in Young Chef, Young Waiter. And I kept looking at the other events that were running and at the moment, by the way, there are no events running. There are no competitions running because of, I'm saying there's certainly no chef and waiter competition running because you can't get out there at the moment. So this is the perfect competition at the perfect time with the perfect end, because you guys, includes insurance. I mean, it's such a brilliant prize, and I'm so pleased to have Mercedes close to us. And so we'll have some other big brands as we go forward with this that we're just negotiating at the moment. Obviously, it's a slightly different setup now. And what I've done with brands as well is we've redesigned the document that these brands will be supporting as opposed to sponsoring. So, all the money goes in, and obviously there's a cost of running this event. It doesn't run on its own. But we also look at, you can see the two charities or the two association groups we look after, which is Future Chef and Adopt a School. So there's a complete circle here from the judges on the old school and the guys who have made it, right down to to Future Chef from schools and Adopt a School, with both the Royal Academy of Culinary Arts and Springboard. So everyone's involved. It's a wonderful group of people all working for the same cause.
Yeah, no, it looks fantastic. And when they come to the final in November, how does that work? Is this in a restaurant? Are you actually cooking for the public? Is it invitees only? And then obviously the waiters as well. So yeah, private event over a couple of days. Can you just explain a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, it was. So last year was the first year we sort of showcased how we were going to run it. And it was absolutely fantastic. All the 32 chefs and waiters stayed at the Hard Rock Hotel. The new one, which had just literally opened. So they'd all come from all over the country. So, and some of them have not been to London much before. I mean, it sounds odd, but if you're coming from, Northumberland, then, you're not popping in and out of London every 5 minutes, So it was brilliant to see everyone coming together. We hosted a dinner for them, and Theo Randall, who's the head judge, who's a delight, and Simon, who are just absolutely fantastic head judges of waiters and chefs. And then it's a 2-day competition. We really put them through through their tasks. It's a 2-day. It's a bit sort of, I suppose you would use a term, it's a bit X Factor-ish in its root, because we whittle down the 32 to 6 chefs and 6 waiters in a very short space of time by some really intense exercises and tasks, and then on the lunch of the second day, we know who the last 6 are, and we announce that. And the secret and the ethos about Young Chef, Young Waiter was ultimately pairing a chef and a waiter together to work together to plan the menu and to serve 4 people. So 6 chefs and 6 waiters will work together. Those 2 will work together. They will serve a table of 4, which will be the VIP guests and chefs and everyone else. So they've got to work together, and that's how it works. And then at the end, the final awards ceremony, where we had John Turode, who was brilliant, who was also the chairman of Chef Judges in 2003 or 4, I think he said. He helped do the awards at Quaglino's, where we decided that we wanted to make it very relaxed, no dress, no formal, no black tie, a nightclub scene, 300 people at Quaglino's, having a super party, great videos, great audio, great music, loads of wine, loads of booze. Let's just have a party and celebrate. And I felt, right or wrongly, that is what an audience, if you were 26 and under, would want.
I was going to say, I think if I was 26 or under, it's been a while, but I would definitely be applying for that. Sounds great. You sound like the Simon Cowell, and you're almost creating, if you're putting people who don't know each other together, it's like creating a pop band, isn't it? You've got your waiter and your chefs, and you make them work together. That must be an interesting dynamic. But I suppose that's the point of hospitality. I think that sort of the past is a fascinating social experiment between back of house and front of house, and the kind of the change, I suppose, of what needs to happen out the front is always about, hospitality as in it might be your birthday or anniversary and it's all happy and jolly and you've got to look after somebody, and in the kitchen it might be very precise. You've got 45 seconds until that souffle is going to drop, and it's much more military. And I think the transition over the past is brilliant. So it must be quite interesting just to see the sort of the personality relationships, I suppose, between those characters as well.
You're absolutely right. It's and you know, you create this new family. So each winning chef and winning waiter will become ambassadors and judges as well. They will all automatically come into the judging panel, which is brilliant. So you'll keep the family, the new family, rolling. But you know, Mark, there were a number of things that haven't happened this year. The Department of International Trade had negotiated with us with Expo 2020. So the whole final of Young Chef, Young Waiter was supposed to be this year at Expo 2020. The other part of which will now be next year. So in other words, we will have the final this year. I mean, even if we have a COVID plan, even if we couldn't host it, in a location, which I think we will, and we do have a location. I don't want to say where it is just at the moment in case things change, but we have a new location, and I'm really excited about where we're going to host the finals. And it's a 5-star location because I actually didn't want to be back in universities. So we hosted it last year at university at Westminster. Westminster Kingsway? Yeah, Westminster College, anyway. But I wanted to get away from that because that's what everyone else does. And I'm trying to make this the competition for everybody, to not only the judges to be excited by, but obviously the contestants. And we had this incredible opportunity, which we announced, which was that all the finalists, 24 finalists, would be flown to Dubai, and they would host the final of the competition on Expo 2020, and that would be used by the UK stand to showcase British hospitality, which would be fantastic. And I was, within a year, we've taken this sort of mothball competition to Expo and beyond. And when I say beyond, the reason I say that is because also this year, we are launching Young Chef, Young Waiter China in the UK, because obviously we can't go to China at the moment. The Chinese hospitality sector has equally been hit terribly. And I feel, because, they've got nothing to do with how all this, originated from China, but nothing to do with your restaurants in Chinatown here in London and all over the country. So they need support. And also, so I'm working with a fantastic lady, Ching Hee Wong, if I've pronounced her name correctly. I hope I have, who is a sort of Chinese hospitality MBE. She's the face of Chinese food, I think, over here at the moment. And I'm also working with Enam Ali, who runs the Curry Awards. And we're going to do what we call Young Chef, Young Waiter South Asia. So we're going to incorporate Bangladesh and India and Pakistan and Nepal. So we're actually going to have 3 competitions in one in the UK. And that forms the basis of where I want Young Chef, Young Waiter to go, which is World Young Chef, World Young Waiter. So, and that is my goal for it. And I have this 5-year vision that we will have 20 or 25 countries hosting Young Chef, Young Waiter. And then the year after, you have the world finals every year. So every year somewhere, there will be a World Young Chef, World Young Waiter. So it was a start of redesigning, and it's a start of a 5-year mission and vision. And now that takes it into literally another world altogether, because I can't wait. I'm actually getting goosebumps when I even talk about this, when I say that one day, standing on the stage, there will be TV, there will be media going crazy. I'll have Michelin with me, I'll have Tatler with me, I'll have every possible route, I'll have everything. But somewhere in the world, there will be the World Young Chef and the World Young Waiter. Now, that's quite something.
Yeah, that's incredible. You're giving me goosebumps. I think it's good. And I think what's exciting there is because you come from the hospitality world rather than from the events world, because I find it sad sometimes some of the hospitality events you go to if they're run by an events company, because we're good at hospitality. The reason that you can deliver that, and you talk about, the music, and you talk about the energy in the room, and you talk about the location, and is that you understand that hospitality is all about how you make people feel. And I think that's gonna put it in good stead to actually deliver that aspiration. A part of this, and you talking there, I think would motivate people to come into what I probably share your passion and excitement for what is such a creative and energized sector. But there's no getting away from the fact that all too often, the parents of young kids probably look at hospitality as being low pay, overwork, something you do in between jobs. Why do you think this is such a great sector for people to come and work within?
Well, I think. And they're right to think that, because for many years it was like that. But I don't think it's like that anymore. I'm not saying it isn't like that in every location. Of course it isn't. But certainly, look, if you want to be good at anything, you're going to have to work. I don't care what it is. If you're going to be a doctor, if you're going to be anything, if you're going to be a lawyer, whatever it is, you're going to have to work. And so, don't come into it if you don't want to work hard. But the reward you get from what we do, the reward, and bizarrely, I'm doing these online cooking things. I'm suddenly started thinking about it again. I've cooked since I was 16. I've suddenly started thinking about cooking and and the reward. I made an omelette the other day. Now, by the way, it's a fantastic omelette, I have to say. But the reward I got in just doing it properly, because we'll all make an omelette, but actually when you think about it, and I thought about it, and I just did my own, I thought, I'm going to do it this way, I'm going to do it that way. And it's on, I have this, anyone, Robert Walton, MBE Instagram channel, have a look, they're all on these stories or whatever it is. And so I get reward at my age out of cooking, and serving and watching people go, gosh, this is the best omelette I've had, And so I get that. And I think it is such a rewarding industry sector to be in, and I think that is so satisfying. Now, of course, it's demanding. Why is it demanding? Well, most people come in, between 12:30 and 1:30, and you spent all morning preparing the food for them. And then most people come in between 7:30 and 9, and you spend all afternoon preparing all the food for that. And so, you spend hours getting everything ready for an hour and a half service. So it's going to be rushed, and it's going to be a bit under pressure. But doesn't it do you? I think a bit of pressure does everyone good. But when you think of a kitchen today, Mark, a kitchen today is nothing like a kitchen as it was, years ago. It should be calm. It should be under control. It will be clean. It will be, the way we run our sector now. And again, Tom was saying to me, about washing your hands. He said, well, of course, chefs, you wash your hands every 5 minutes. You wash your hands. So, I think it's such a rewarding industry to be in, and there's so many places you can go. And finally, on that bit, you think about years and years ago when I first started, I won't even tell you what people, said to me when I went into a kitchen in London. Why the hell are you doing that? Now, of course, if you were to go and work, if you could get a job at, say, any amazing restaurant or anywhere around, or I used to say that, if you look at the staff at Zuma or Sexy Fish or Chiltern Firehouse or somewhere, and then they go out with their friends. They say, what do you do? I work at Chiltern Firehouse. Oh, wow. I've always wanted to go there. I've always wanted to go. Can I get, and suddenly the job is quite, well. And of course, a chef, these days, chefs, you put on a cooking channel, a TV, you're watching cooking channels all day long. So I think it's changed a lot.
No, I think you're right. You've sold it. You've sold it well there. So that works for me. And you're absolutely right on that sort of health and safety side, I suppose, of COVID. And you talk about washing your hands, but you think, we deal with life and death in the kitchen on a daily basis because we're you're eating something you're putting in your body, and if we sell you something that's raw, or if we haven't looked after those shellfish and kept them at just the right temperature, since they've been delivered, and the paper trail, I do think we should be a trusted part of the of the sector. Next to healthcare, we are used to extreme kind of cleanliness standards, and I think we'll be able to navigate our way out of COVID if we are allowed to do so. Which probably leads on to sort of drawing to a close because I'm conscious of time. Anything you think the government should do or the sector should do to help us sort of get back on our feet over the next few months? Any other burning issues that you've been thinking about?
I think the government have got to look at furlough. I think we're going to come, July the 4th is the opening day if you want to. You saw me speaking to Jodie Kidd about her pub. She doesn't see any way she's going to be opening on July the 4th. And I know that if you're in the city of London or the city of Manchester or the city of wherever you're in the middle of the city, you're probably thinking, well, there's going to be no one around. We're due to open on July the 4th and, okay, school holidays. It sounds a bit odd that kids haven't been to school, but they do online schooling and lots of kids are still in school for health workers and workers are required to sort of keep us all rolling. So I think it's going to be so I think that furlough is really important for us. And I think that possibly a part-time furlough, where you can keep some on and some off and work it out how you're going to do. I think rents, obviously, the massive, massive problem right now of rents and banks looking after us. I think the banks need to do that. I think all of that, the financial bit, is vital. You're absolutely right to say that we are ourselves, we are a very clean organization, a clean business. We have to be clean. We have to know where our produce comes from. We have to keep it at certain temperatures. We have to know the temperatures. There's a whole risk assessment that we go through, and that's absolutely right. It's a really good system that we run now. And I think, although we were all possibly the scores and we're all sort of, oh my God, and all that, actually, it's probably worked out very well because we're all very aware of how we run our establishments. And also, I think the other beauty about running our establishments is our local produce. You will be the same. I am. I mean, I'm cooking in my own kitchen and I'm sourcing as much locally as I possibly can. So I think restaurants are really keen on doing that, which means you know exactly what you're getting, where it's coming from. And you'll be serving, good quality food. So I just don't think that. And I think the other thing to finally mention is all of us. How ready are we to go out into those restaurants? I had cancer 3 years ago, and I've been quite careful. Now, where am I going to go? I don't know. I'm feeling a bit nervy about going to my industry right now, and if I'm feeling a bit nervous about it, everyone else is going to feel a bit nervous about it. So we've got to make sure that the venues, I think once I've gone out once and I feel okay, I'm going to be, actually, that was really good. But, so there's you who have the venues and I have a venue and I'm speaking with the Restaurant Association hat on. We have to prove that our venues are really, really safe and you can come and have a gorgeous meal without somebody near you, coughing and spluttering. And, you just feel comfortable when you're in there because there is no point going to a restaurant where you're going to be on tender hooks and thinking, oh my God, I need to be out, but I'm not enjoying this because that's going to be a disaster. And then the general public have just got to feel very comfortable. So it isn't going to happen overnight at all. I think there'll be, once restaurants can sort of open, people are desperate to sort of go in them again. I am. But we're all going to be careful. And we're all just, I wish I had the crystal ball to say how it's all going to work and how it's all going to go. I've been waffling a bit about it, but I'm trying to I'm looking out over my garden and I'm trying to logically think of the planned route through it. And there isn't one. I think it's a process that, and as we go further into it, and as soon as July 4th hits at whatever point and whoever opens, we'll start to understand a little bit more. But what I do love about our sector is we are brilliant at improvising, adapting, and overcoming all circumstances and all situations. And we will certainly do everything we need to do to make sure our customers are safe. And when they go to those restaurants, I'm sure that everyone's going to have a great time. And I can't wait, by the way, to get out and go to see my friends again.
Perfect. Well, look, I think based on two things, that was a very eloquent close anyway, but also I promised to finish in time for your next meeting, Robert, and we are touching on it, so I'm going to have to let you go. But look, thank you so much for sparing the time, and thanks for just being a great sort of ambassador and sort of person talking about our industry and being out there and representing it on a daily basis. I think we all appreciate it, and thanks for sparing the time to chat today, and I wish you the best of luck navigating the unknowns of how we get out of this.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, actually. It's really nice to actually take a time and just to really have a good old chat about hospitality and where we are. And your questions have been very good. They make you think, and whilst you think, you can then come up with sort of different ideas. And I wish you luck as well with your locations and your hotel, and I'm sure it'll all be fine.
Wonderful. Perfect. All right. Well, we'll meet up face to face for a beer in the sun at the end of this. But Thank you now for Robert. That's great. Cheers.
Brilliant. Bye-bye now.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and I certainly enjoyed chatting to the super enthusiastic Robert, and I very much look forward to meeting face to face for that icy cold beer once life returns to some sort of semblance of normality. But for now, please do head over to the Humans of Hospitality website, where you will find links to Robert's Instagram page, and also whilst you're there, sign up to the weekly newsletter, and I will make sure that I keep in touch with you and let you know who I am interviewing. Okay, thank you so much, and we'll chat again soon.